So converting with fractions is just a combination of using your converting knowledge and your multiplication of fraction knowledge. So it starts off pretty easy with things like 1/4 of a foot equals how many inches. Now, my converting knowledge tells me to right away figure out my conversion factor. So 12 inches equals 1 foot. With that knowledge and knowing that I'm going from big to a smaller unit, which means I'm going to multiply, I can then do a fraction equation of 1/4 times 12. 12 because it's my conversion factor. When I do 1/4 times 12, I can get an answer of 3. So I know that 1/4 of a foot is really 3 inches. So I used my conversion information plus my multiplication of fraction information to solve. Another example is what is 1/3 of a yard equals how many feet? Well, I know that there are 3 feet in 1 yard. So, and I'm going from big to small. So I'm going to do 1/3 times 3, which gives me 3/3 or 1. So 1/3 of a yard equals 1 foot. These are fairly basic problems. What get more complex is when you're not talking about 1 yard, but let's say you're talking about 12. So I have 1/3 of 12 yards equals how many feet? We're going to use similar steps. We're just going to do 2 of them. The first thing you're going to need to do is say, well, 1/3 of 12 equals how much? Figure out how many yards you're dealing with before you need to convert. So I can do 1/3 of 12. Which equals 4. So I have 4 yards. 1/3 of 12 yards equals 4 yards. Perfect, 100% true, but what it's missing is its answer in feet. I need to go from yards to feet. So this is when I convert. I know that there are 3 feet in 1 yard. So to go from 4 yards, I'm going to do 4 times 3 because I'm going from a big unit to a smaller unit from yards to feet. 4 times 3 gives me 12. So I end up with 12 feet. 1/3 of 12 yards equals 12 feet. Let's try another one along those more complicated lines. If I wanted to do, let's say, 3/5 of 1,000 centimeters equals how many meters? Well, first, let's ignore the conversion part and just do 3/5 of 1,000 centimeters. I can do that by doing a regular multiplication problem. 3/5 times 1,000 centimeters to figure out how many centimeters that equals. That would be 3 times 1,000 over 5. I can simplify and find my correct answer. So 3/5 of 1,000 really equals 600 centimeters. Now I need to convert. So I need to figure out how many meters 600 centimeter equals. Knowing that there are 100 centimeters and 1 meter, and going from a small unit to a big unit, this one tricks us, from a small unit to a big unit, I'm going to end up dividing here. So I'm going to do 600 divided by 100 because that's my conversion factor, and I'm going to get 6. So 3/5 of 1,000 centimeters equals 6 meters. So it's the same steps that we've been previously working on, but now we're combining our timesing of a fraction and our converting into one sometimes confusing equation. It's not always going to be perfect. Sometimes you're going to have answers that give you an improper fraction or a mixed number, like the problem 2/5 times 6 yards equals how many feet? Well, 2/5 times 6 yards, 2/5 times 6, I can't simplify that. So I'm going to get 12/5 of a yard. and I need to convert that to feet, knowing that there are 3 feet in 1 yard. So I'm going to times by 3. So I have 12 times 3 over 5. Again, I can't simplify, so I'm just going to multiply straight across. 12 times 3 is 36. 5 stays the same, so I get 36 fifths, or 7 1/5 feet. So sometimes you might get problems where you can't simplify, which we've seen when we just multiply normal equations. So we're going to have to just multiply straight across and simplify at the end into a fraction. But know that whenever you convert with fractions, you're just going to break it up into 2 steps if needed. If it asks you to find 2/5 of 6 yards, you can first find 2/5 of 6, then convert it from yards to feet as step number 2. Sometimes you won't have to do that extra step because it's just going to be 2/5 of 1 yard. It depends on the problem.